Imagine this for a moment. You wake up on your 70th birthday, grab your car keys like you have for the last 50 years, and without even realizing it, you could already be breaking the law. Yes, you heard that right. In the United Kingdom, the moment you turn 70, your driving license automatically expires. It does not matter if you have never had a single accident. It does not matter if you feel perfectly capable behind the wheel. If that license is not renewed, you are technically not allowed to drive. And here is the scary part. Thousands of drivers do not realize this until it is too late. Today, I am going to explain exactly what happens when you turn 70, the mistake that could invalidate your insurance overnight, and the simple steps that make sure you can keep driving legally and safely. Stay with me, because one small detail most people ignore could cost them, though, thousands of pounds. Before we go any further, if you are someone who wants to stay informed about driving rules, license updates, and important changes that affect drivers, especially those over 70, then this channel was created exactly for people like you. I break down complicated rules in simple terms, so you never get caught out by changes that could affect your license, your insurance, or your ability to drive. So if you want clear information that actually helps you stay on the road safely and legally, take a second right now and hit the subscribe button. Think of this channel as your place to stay one step ahead of the rules. So let us start right at the beginning. In the United Kingdom, when you reach the age of 70, your driving license does not simply carry on as normal. This is something that a surprising number of people do not realize, even people who have been driving for 50 years or more. When you hit that 70th birthday, your license actually expires automatically. It does not matter how long you have held it, it does not matter how clean your record is, and it does not matter that you feel perfectly fine and capable behind the wheel. The law says your license expires at 70, full stop. Now here is where people get confused, and I want to be very clear about this. Your license expiring does not mean you are automatically banned from driving. What it means is that you now need to renew your license, and you need to do that through the DVLA, which stands for the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency. They are the government body that handles all of this, based down in Swansea. The renewal process at 70 is actually quite different from what most people are used to. When you're younger and you renew your license, it is largely a formality. But from the age of 70 onwards, things change quite significantly. First of all, your renewed license will only be valid for 3 years, not the longer period you might have had before. So at 70, you renew and get a license valid until you are 73. At 73, you renew again and get one valid until you are 76. And so on, every 3 years for the rest of your driving life. This 3-year renewal cycle is important because it means the DVLA keeps a much closer eye on older drivers than it does on younger ones. Every 3 years, you are essentially being asked to confirm that you are still medically fit to drive. Now here is the part that is catching a lot of people out right now, and this is really the heart of what I want to talk to you about today. If you are 70 or over and your license has expired or is about to expire and you do not renew it in time, you are not legally allowed to drive. And if you get behind the wheel without a valid license, you are breaking the law. It is as simple as that. The DVLA does not automatically send someone round to take your keys away, but what they do send is a reminder letter, usually about 90 days before your license is due to expire. That letter tells you it is time to renew. The problem is that some people miss that letter, some people assume it will sort itself out, and some people simply put it to one side, meaning to deal with it later, and then later never quite comes. If that sounds familiar, please do not feel embarrassed about it because it happens to a lot of people. Life gets busy, things get forgotten, and a letter from the DVLA does not always feel like the most urgent thing to deal with when you have got other things going on. But here is why it matters so much. If you drive with an expired license, you are committing an offence. You could face a fine, you could have trouble with your car insurance, and in some cases your insurance could even be invalidated entirely, which is a very serious situation situation to be in. Imagine having an accident, even a minor one, and then discovering that your insurance company is not going to pay out because your license was not valid at the time. That could leave you personally liable for costs that could run into tens of thousands of pounds. So this is not something to take lightly, even if the process of renewing feels like a bit of a hassle. Now let us talk about the medical side of things, because this is where a lot of anxiety tends to build up among older drivers, and I completely understand why. When you renew your license at 70 and beyond, you are required to declare any medical conditions that might affect your ability to drive safely. The DVLA has a list of conditions that must be reported, and it is quite a long list. It includes things like epilepsy, certain heart conditions, diabetes if it is being treated with insulin, Parkinson's disease, sleep apnea, problems with your eyesight, and a number of others. If you have any condition on that list, you have a legal duty to tell the DVLA. Not your doctor, not your family, the DVLA specifically. This is another area where people sometimes make mistakes. Some people think that because their doctor knows about their condition, that is enough. It is not. Your GP does not automatically inform the DVLA on your behalf unless there are very specific circumstances. The responsibility sits with you as the driver to make that declaration. And if you drive without declaring a condition that you were supposed to report and something goes wrong, you could find yourself in very serious legal and financial trouble. Now, I know that talking about medical conditions in the context of driving feels uncomfortable for many people. There is often a fear that the moment you mention something to the DVLA, they will take your license away. But that is not necessarily what happens at all. The DVLA will often ask for more information, they may write to your doctor, and they may ask you to take a medical examination. In many cases, people with manageable medical conditions are allowed to continue driving, sometimes with restrictions such as needing to wear glasses at all times or only being licensed to drive an automatic car. The point is that the process exists not to catch people out, but to make sure that everyone on the road, including the driver themselves, is as safe as possible. Let us also talk about eyesight, because this is one of the most common reasons that older drivers run into difficulty, and it is also one of the most easily addressed. The law in the UK requires all drivers to be able to read a number plate from 20 meters away in good daylight with glasses or contact lenses if needed. This is the basic legal standard. However, good driving actually requires quite a bit more than just being able to read a number plate. It requires good peripheral vision, the ability to judge distances accurately, and the ability to cope with things like the glare from headlights at night or bright sunlight on a wet road. If your eyesight has changed and you have not had it checked recently, please do go and have it tested. This is not just about the law, it is about your safety and the safety of other people on the road with you. An optician can tell you very quickly whether your current prescription is right for driving, and if it is not, getting the right glasses could make an enormous difference. While we are on the subject of health, it is also worth thinking about how medications can affect your ability to drive. This is something that not enough people talk about. As we get older, many of us end up taking more medications, and some of those medications can affect things like reaction time, alertness, and concentration. Common culprits include certain antihistamines, some blood pressure medications, sleeping tablets, and anxiety medications. If you are on any regular medication and you are not sure whether it could affect your driving, please speak to your GP or your pharmacist. They will be able to advise you, and it is a completely reasonable question to ask. There is no shame in it at all. Now I want to address something that comes up a lot in the comments and messages I receive, which is the emotional side of all of this. For many people, driving is not just about getting from A to B. It represents independence. It means being able to pop to the shops without asking anyone for a lift, being able to visit friends and family, being able to get to a doctor's appointment without relying on someone else. Losing the ability to drive, or even feeling like that ability might be under threat, can feel genuinely frightening. And that fear can sometimes lead people to avoid dealing with the paperwork or to avoid telling their doctor about symptoms they have noticed because they worry about what the consequences might be. I really do understand that, but I would gently encourage you to think about it this way. Dealing with the renewal process properly and being honest about any health changes is actually the best way to protect your independence for as long as possible. If you ignore the renewal and your license expires, you lose the right to drive immediately. If you are upfront about a manageable health condition, there is a very good chance you will still be able to drive, perhaps with some additional checks along the way. The system is not designed to take licenses away from healthy, capable drivers. It is designed to make sure that everyone on the road is fit to be there. So what do you actually need to do to renew your license? Let me walk you through it in simple terms. The easiest way to renew is online through the government's website, which is gov.uk. You will need your current or most recent driving license, your national insurance number, and a valid passport if you want them to use your passport photo. If you do not have a valid passport, you will need to send a paper application form, which is called a D46P, and you can get that form from a post office. The application is free of charge, which is worth knowing because some people worry about costs. There is no fee for renewing your license at 70 and beyond in the standard circumstances. When you fill in the form or the online application, you will be asked to declare whether you have any medical conditions that affect your driving. Answer honestly. If you are not sure whether a condition needs to be declared, the gov.uk website has a very helpful tool that lets you look up specific conditions and see whether they need to be reported. You can also call the DVLA directly if you prefer to speak to someone, and I would always recommend that if you find the online process a bit confusing. Once you have submitted your application, the DVLA will process it and send you your new license in the post. This usually takes around 2 to 3 weeks, though it can take longer at busy times. While you are waiting for your new license to arrive, you are actually still allowed to drive as long as you applied before your license expired. So if you have submitted your application in good time, you do not need to stop driving while you wait. However, if your license has already expired and you have not yet applied to renew it, then strictly speaking, you should not be driving until the new license arrives. I also want to mention something that is worth being aware of, which is that the rules around older drivers are very likely to continue evolving over the coming years. There have been ongoing discussions in government and in road safety organisations about whether the current system does enough to ensure that older drivers are safe. Some people have called for mandatory medical tests or driving assessments at certain ages. Others argue strongly that age alone is not a reliable indicator of driving ability, and that a healthy 75-year-old may drive far better than an unwell 50-year-old. This debate is ongoing, and it is one that touches on some quite sensitive issues around age discrimination, individual rights, and public safety. As things stand today, the main legal requirement is the 3-yearly license renewal and the obligation to declare relevant medical conditions. But it is always worth keeping an eye on the news in case the rules change, and I will of course update you on this channel if anything significant happens. Now, if you are reading this and you are thinking about a family member rather than yourself, I want to say a word about how to handle these conversations because they can be delicate. If you have an elderly parent or relative who you are worried about and whose driving concerns you, it can be very difficult to raise the subject without it feeling like an attack on their independence or their capabilities. The key is to come from a place of genuine care rather than criticism. You might start by asking whether they have received their renewal reminder from the DVLA, which opens the conversation in a practical rather than emotional way. You could offer to help them fill in the form or navigate the website. And if you have specific safety concerns, it might be worth suggesting a voluntary driving assessment, which many older drivers actually find reassuring because it gives them an independent, professional view of their abilities. There are organisations in the UK that offer these kinds of assessments, including the Royal Society for the Prevention of Accidents, which runs a scheme called ROSPA Drive, and Driving Mobility, which has assessment centres across the country. These are not tests that can result in your license being taken away. They are independent, voluntary assessments designed purely to give the driver useful feedback. And in many cases, they confirm that the person is driving just as well as they always have. Finally, I just want to bring this back to where we started and summarize the key message, because I want to make sure it really lands. If you are 70 or about to turn 70, your driving license will expire at that point and you need to renew it. If you are already over 70 and you are not sure whether your license is currently valid, please check it today. Look at the front of the license card and find the expiry date. If it has passed or if it is coming up soon, act on it now. Do not leave it, do not assume it will sort itself out, and do not be put off by the paperwork. The process is straightforward, it is free, and getting it done means you can carry on driving with complete peace of mind and within the law. Your independence matters, your safety matters, and the safety of other people on the roads matters too. All of those things are best protected when you stay on top of your license, are honest about your health, and keep up with the rules as they apply to you. Thank you so much for watching today. If you found this helpful, please do share it with someone you know who might need to hear it, because this is the kind of information that makes a real difference to people's lives. Take care of yourselves, drive safely, and I will see you in the next one.